Alright, so the first person that we're gonna look at today is this atom shot from Isabella. And here is her latest, and this is the paint over I did last time. So I think the eyes are working great. I really like the shaping that she got. It's almost one-to-one with the paint over, which is actually impressive. I think the skin is feeling a little matte though. I'm not sure why, but when I pick the value, it seems to be maybe too saturated, but not bright enough. Like I wish that it got a little desaturated and brighter. So I guess my question is going to be if you're using aces or any kind of LUT, because if your value is already bright, but you don't have a LUT, making it brighter will simply just make it appear more saturated, which I think is what's happening here. You'll want to use a LUT that will desaturate it as it gets brighter, because you can see when I color pick this guy, it's bright. His value is actually dimmer, but it appears brighter because it's desaturated. So my first guess is that you might have to make sure that you're using aces, because I think a lot of those values that are full-blown saturated just need to lose saturation, and the LUT would take care of that. So I think that is what I would check first. And then I feel like this transition over here is a little harsh. So I would try and see if your wrap is maybe too sharp. Because from last version I can see that the light appears to extend further. If that's a second light, it's possible that the wrap just needs to be softer so that we get a softer transition into shadow, kind of like what I painted here. And ideally, let's make it a little warmer so that we can feel a little bit of warmth on it. I like the addition of the rim on the shirt. I think that's all working out really nicely. And I think another comment that I had last time was about I think it was the temperature of the fill light. Felt a little too cool and filled, so that does feel better now. We regained some contrast in there. But let's try to get closer to the paint over still. It's possible that you're doing everything right and it's just a matter of the LUT that is either not collaborating or is not being used. So I would just look into that. Right, next up, what do we have? We have James B. And this is his first exercise where he's trying to recreate a scene from a movie using just primitive shapes. All right. This is looking good. You're getting really close. And I believe the requirements for the exercise is that you're not allowed to adjust the color of the shaders. There's some very specific limitations to the assignment. So it can be a little tricky to tell you how to nudge it forward, because you're already really close. So I guess the only suggestion I can think of at the moment is that these guys are reading dark on bright, whereas in yours they appear to be bright on bright. So a simple change that you can do is to just have them read overall darker. that will help you get closer to your reference, but it feels like a very minor change. Overall, it's working really nicely. So essentially, I'm just gonna grab uh, a dark value from over here and just paint them dark. And then I'm gonna change the opacity to something like 50%. So you see now they appear to be a little closer to the reference. Their structure is a little bit easier. They're a little bit easier to read. It's possible that we might want to do the same for, I don't know if this is Darth Vader or, sorry, I didn't watch the last Star Wars, but he overall reads dark on bright, so we can probably do the same. And we just want to make sure that your blocking is similar to your reference. And again, I'll kind of blend this with your original so we don't lose all of the information we have. But it does have to come down quite a bit, I think. Because before it was reading bright on dark, I think this should overall stay darker, group darker. To be honest with you, you've gotten this really close already on your first pass. One of the most interesting things that I think are working really well is the Fresnel, how you're achieving this gradient where it gets darker at the bottom. I am impressed that you were able to get that to match so well to your reference, because that's usually something that is a little tricky to get on a first pass, this kind of gradient on the reflections. Yeah, I think let's make those changes and let's take a look at it again. All right, and then the last image that we have is from Java Devil, and let's see. In this latest pass, we have introduced a rim light over here, which is really helpful. And I believe I had asked to cut the fill light considerably. I still feel like we are too bright on the fill side. Yeah, I think we're still too bright on the fill side. Let me do a quick paint over. Oh, that is not it. I think it's still a lot of the notes that I had from the last paint over are still valid. Yeah, I think a lot of the notes are still valid. We still want to try and get a little bit more cool light into the front here. It's really just about what I painted before, but I'll just quickly redo it just for clarity. So we want to get a little bit more of this hit over there, right? And then I think the fill level is a little too bright. If we look at the fill level here or here versus here, we're still overfilling. We really should cut that fill light. by like 70%. Because traditionally that's what we would do in an animated movie. We would try to overfill our characters to make them look appealing and red, but this reference is more dramatic, so I think we can cut the fill considerably. And then I think we have room to not only we want more influence from this cool light in the front over here, but we also might want to make sure that the rim light that you introduced um, affects this railing in the front. And we might want to push this light further, like get a little bit more contribution from the fill on this guy. This is feeling overall a little dark. I think we can introduce more of this fill light on him. And we do want to keep the rim you have, but once we introduce that fill, we might want to boost that rim so that it does feel brighter. But I think the biggest change is going to be essentially taking this fill level and just really cutting it down considerably. You can see that on her, it tends to lean warm. On him, it tends to lean a little cooler. This may be a little tricky to talk about, but essentially, this orange versus this like red. This red is leaning towards purple, so it's a little cooler. But ideally, when we adjust the fill level on this character, we do want to keep it a little warmer because we want to give the impression that the light is bouncing around, right? Whereas for this guy, when we go darker, we probably don't want to feel any of that. So we can go a little redder towards purple, essentially. And I think that gets you closer to the range that we're seeing here. So it's like a different kind of fill level. This one is warmer because we're going to try and give the impression that this light is bouncing around, right? And this one instead can just go a little crunchier. So I will try those couple of things and then I will take a look at it again. Those are the images that we have for today. I'll be posting a recording for the crate shortly. All right, thank you guys.